Hello again, everybody. Welcome into Gamecock Central Radio. Emerson Phillips joined by Wes Mitchell, talking some Gamecock football today, getting ready for signing day coming up in just a few weeks. Wes, good to be with you today. How are you, bud?
Good, man. Hanging in there. Dead period coming to a close here soon. So obviously recruiting about to take another step up as we complete this road to National Signing Day.
That's right. Gamecocks have picked up a couple more commitments here in the last few days. But before we get to that, Wes, let's talk about the addition of Lance Thompson to the Gamecock coaching staff. He will be the assistant head coach for defense and the defensive line coach. Lance Thompson is a Georgia native and a 1987 graduate of the Citadel, and he's got extensive SEC assistant coaching experience, regarded as an elite recruiter. He was the 2008 National Recruiter of the Year. Wes, he's worked at Bama, Auburn, LSU, Tennessee. This guy's got an impeccable reputation.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, I got the chance to talk with him a little bit on last Friday when they introduced the new coaches to the media, and just just one of these dudes that comes across I guess very confident is maybe the word to say it. He absolutely kind of portrays his thoughts into words very, very well, which I think there's been so much talk about how productive this group of coaches has been on the recruiting trail. I was excited to actually, meet some of these guys, shake their hands, look them in the eye, and see what they're all about. And I think with Thompson, you're talking about a guy who I think, just hearing him talk, very, very easily could have been a paid public speaker, as far as just the way he puts thoughts into words, and someone that there are very few uhs or ahs or pauses. He seems to already, be pretty quick about knowing what he wants to say, depending on what he's asked. And, just kind of seeing him a little bit, hearing him talk, hearing him answer questions, to me it was very, very easy to see why this guy, was a former ESPN Recruiter of the Year 1 year, and all the way back in 2008, he was actually the Rivals.com Recruiter of the Year. So just brings a ton of experience on the SEC level. He knows what a winning SEC football team looks like, and he obviously knows how to go sign players.
Wes, it looks like the staff has taken shape now, and it's just about complete. And I've been impressed with the fact that Bobby Bentley was brought on board, and the Gamecocks are already reaping benefits from him coming on. And that's evidenced by the commitment from Chavis Dawkins, the wide receiver from Burns High School, where Bobby Bentley was longtime head coach, built Burns into a major power here in South Carolina high school football. Dawkins, a Shrine Bowl player, 6'2", 195 pounds, had a big senior year at Burns, 73 receptions, over 1,300 yards and 17 TDs, and they kind of got a late offer from the Gamecocks, but he did choose South Carolina right away. Picked the Gamecocks over Louisville, NC State, Wake Forest, and App State. And Dawkins talked about Bobby Bentley and the recruiting process. Even though the offer came late, I think Dawkins was quick to accept, and he's happy to be on board with the Gamecocks.
Yeah, they quickly started recruiting him, as soon as the new staff got on, but they did not offer at that time. And, I think they were waiting to see what else was out there, what other prospects they were going to be able to get in with. And then, you look at the Riley Ridley situation, looked at one time like they were going to land him. Then, of course, very quickly they found out they were not going to land him. And, I think it's been pretty obvious to me that there's a priority to go get wide receivers that can help and possibly help right away. So, as far as what I was told, as of, Thursday, Dawkins was going to NC State. And on Friday, South Carolina delivered the late offer, and on Saturday afternoon, he committed to the Gamecocks. So it was really one of these things where if South Carolina was going to move on him, the time to do it was pretty much right now, or right then, I should say, on Friday, and they decided that they wanted to do that. A guy that, I don't think necessarily is going to explode off the charts as far as his testing numbers, as far as a speed guy, but as you said, very, very productive, had a great senior season. He was a touchdown machine. Made a lot of big plays down the field, breaks a lot of tackles, has very good, strong hands. So I don't know if he's necessarily, that guy, again, that's going to jump off the page as being completely dynamic to change a game necessarily, but I think he's one of those reliable receivers that has a knack for getting open, has a knack for making plays, and South Carolina certainly needs that in their receiving corps.
No doubt, and you get him in the weight room, get him on a training table, give him a couple, 3 years, and he can certainly develop into a very strong player for the Gamecocks. So this is exciting because South Carolina continues to emphasize recruiting in-state and in the immediately surrounding areas of the state of South Carolina. And that brings us to Rico Dowdle, Wes, out of A.C. Reynolds High School in Asheville, North Carolina. He's 5'11", 206 pounds, an incredibly dynamic high school player. He's originally out of Gaffney. He says South Carolina is home. He committed to the Gamecocks and says his commitment is 100%. He's got an official visit scheduled for Columbia on January the 15th. And going back to Chavis Dawkins from Burns just a moment, he will visit Columbia on January the 22nd. So talk about Dowdle a little bit. This guy projects as a running back. He had over 2,500 rushing yards and 51 TDs his senior year of high school. He also threw 11 touchdown passes and caught one. This kid's incredibly dynamic, and I think Gamecock fans are excited to have him in the fold.
Oh, yeah, I think he's the most underrated prospect on South Carolina's commitment list right now. That's 63 total touchdowns his senior year. I went back, I looked at the schedule on their school website and divided it out. That's like 4.85, 4.83, something like that, touchdowns per game. For one player, you have a lot of high schools that would like to average that, for their team, I think, for their offense. So just an incredible talent. He was very good at the Shrine Bowl as well. Has his heart set on playing running back, but I do think, you look at him, you say this is a guy that, especially early on in his career, he could help you in the slot. He could help you absolutely in the Wildcat. He could help you in the punt return game, maybe the kick return game. Just a dynamic guy. And again, even though he's going to have Asheville written by his name, in the program, I'm sure he's someone that, again, I think goes back to that idea of kind of putting a fence around South Carolina and getting as many guys out of the state, getting as many guys with Palmetto State ties as possible in the program. Shaq Davison, the receiver from Gaffney, is his cousin. And, I think, sometimes people say, well, Wes, why does it matter where a guy's from? Don't you just want the best player you can sign? And, and I say, yeah, you do want the best players you can sign, no matter where they're from. But it's about, I think, if you have an equally talented kid, at least in your book and your evaluations, or a similar kid, I think you try to take the in-state guy because of the connections that gives you. For one, you have coaches around the state of South Carolina. They noticed when the University of South Carolina football staff is making the in-state kids priority because you never want for the high school coaches to get a sense of, well, they think that they're too good for us, basically. They want to go to Florida as opposed to get guys out of the state of South Carolina. Then, of course, you look at the fact that having a Shaq Davison on campus already made someone like Rico Dowdle feel a little bit more comfortable with the South Carolina program. I think any ties you can bring onto your program, if they're still good football players, you don't take guys just to take them. But if you think they're good football players, you go get them. Because I think this state, historically, there's been a lot of hidden gems in the state of South Carolina. So I really just like what this coaching staff is doing, Emerson. And they're going to put all 9 assistant coaches with a recruiting territory in the state of South Carolina. So, these kids that come from these, population 3,000 towns that, kind of get left under the radar for a long time, I think those days may be over because you're going to have so many coaches spread out among the state that the idea is to not miss on those guys.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of talk, speculation that the previous staff may have neglected in-state recruiting, at least to some degree, or maybe wasn't giving it the attention that a lot of folks feel like it deserves. And when you got an opportunity to get a young man, a prospect that has talent, and maybe emotionally invested in Gamecock football and in the University of South Carolina, these are obviously kids that you'd like to be a part of your program. So big effort by Will Muschamp and the staff to focus on local talent, and I think the fan base at South Carolina appreciates that very much. So, Wes, we're nearing the end of the dead period here, and we're getting down to the last few weeks before signing day. So give us an idea who the Gamecocks are working on right now and, what the goal is for the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think first, we'll look at the logistics of it, and that's that on the 14th of this week, that's Thursday. That's when coaches can go back out on the road, start seeing prospects again. That actually leaves, because the coaching staff can only see a kid once per week, so it leaves a very small window, at least for this week, to where you're pretty much only going to be able to see your elite top targets. And it means, you're going to have to cover a lot of ground, because it's one of these things where, if you don't visit in this week and the week starts over on Sunday, you never get that visit back. You can't go twice next week. It's once per week, period. So it's a very, very limited time span for this week. So I think the coaches are going to try to hit as many high schools, as they literally physically can get to, at the end of this week. Then you look at January 15th on Friday, you have official visitors coming in. I'm sure the coaches will be on the road probably, I'd imagine, early in that day, and then they'll be back in Columbia, Friday night to welcome in a big group of official visitors. And then essentially what you'll have is, the 15th, 22nd, 29th, these next 3 weeks, those are all open weekend, official visit weekend. South Carolina will have a number of targets on campus each week. We've actually got a running tally of prospects who will be on campus there on our Insiders Forum for our premium subscribers. And, it's a pretty big list that changes pretty much every day or every other day. So That's something to keep following. But and you'll have a few prospects who, maybe have more official visits to take than they do weekends to take them. And they'll try to get in on a Wednesday or Tuesday or Monday, and take the old midweek visit. So, lots of stuff to track, but it all starts back up on Thursday, and then a big official visit weekend on Friday with I'd say the guy people are most familiar with for this weekend would be T.J. Brunson, the Columbia, South Carolina linebacker from Richland Northeast. He'll be in town, and he'll come over from the other side of town and have his official visit. And then the biggest name period would be Sam Bruce, who's the 4-star wide receiver from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, St. Thomas Aquinas, Miami commitment, just a big time prospect. He'll be in town with the Gamecocks, looking to change his mind.
Critical few weeks coming up here for Gamecock football as we near signing day. The Gamecocks obviously trying to shore up a few more recruits as we get ready for signing day in early February. This is Gamecock Central Radio. Emerson Phillips with Wes Mitchell. You can get breaking Gamecock news alerts delivered to your email inbox. All you got to do is text USC to 42828. Text USC to 42828 or check out the Gamecock Central homepage for more information. Wes, you talked about premium members here, premium subscribers to Gamecock Central, and I was reading Chris Clark's piece this week, the Insider Report, and I would encourage all visitors to Gamecock Central to subscribe and gain access to the Inside Report from Chris Clark, and you do a good job with that as well, Wes. But in Chris's column this week, he talked about how frantic the recruiting process has been for Muschamp and this new staff, being that they have only been on the job for a few weeks. And they have openly stated that, the recruiting process for the upcoming signing day has been a frantic process. But things will not be that way once the staff is established and they've gotten a little time under their belt to get acclimated to the new job. And they've already started working on recruits for next year, for 2017.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They're working 2017. They're even working a little 2018. I think you almost have to. You have to try to get ahead. And, when he says frantic, he's basically saying that like I said, your timetable is very much compressed. Your time to completely evaluate is also very much compressed, and you also, are in a situation where you can't wait around as long as you maybe would if you had a full class to recruit. And I think that's one thing you're going to see moving forward with the class of 2017 and onward is that. This staff will take a very thorough evaluation process where, the position coach, the area recruiter, and the coordinator will have to sign off and basically, I don't mean sign off in a figurative sense. I mean literally there's an evaluation sheet where they have to sign their name as checking this guy off as being an offer. And those sheets will be filed and kept, and they won't be able to be changed as far as, a guy maybe down the road saying, well, I did want that guy or I didn't want that guy. It's pretty much it's there and it's in writing. So, and these evaluation sheets are very thorough. Lots of different information on there, everything from, for a quarterback, everything from arm strength to accuracy to the off the field, the intangibles, the work ethic, the leadership ability, of course, size, strength, 40-yard dash, pretty much everything you could think of are on these evaluation sheets. And what you'll see moving forward from South Carolina is that everyone's got to be on the same page. There will be more recruiting meetings, and there absolutely will be more recruiting meetings, I guess I can probably say, than there were with the previous staff. And everybody's going to have to sign off and agree on a guy that he's worth a scholarship offer. And, that doesn't eliminate mistakes because, one thing in our conversations with Muschamp that he pointed out to us is that in the NFL draft, Emerson, you have unlimited access to these players, prospects, whatever you want to call them, and there's still first-round busts every single year. If you're a Carolina coaching staff evaluating a high school kid, you don't have unlimited access to these kids. You don't have, a psych evaluation where you have an actual doctor, talking about the person's mindset.
Yeah.
And you have thousands of kids as opposed to, hundreds that you're trying to evaluate. So it is absolutely an inexact science. But Muschamp's philosophy, thought process, idea is that you try to eliminate as much of the guesswork as possible to try and be a better evaluating staff as a whole. Because, and as he said, very, very, I guess, real world, down to earth way to think about it is that as much as I'm sure he loves all his assistant coaches, he wouldn't have them here if he didn't. Some guys are better recruiters than they are evaluators. Some guys are great evaluators. But if you take out as much guesswork as possible and look for, here's exactly what we're looking for on paper, then you can take out some of that guesswork.
All right, we will have a tremendous amount of additional recruiting information to come here in the next few weeks for signing day. Fast approaching. Wes Mitchell continues to do a fantastic job for us on Gamecock Central Radio. You can hit him up on Twitter at Wes Mitchell GC. Wes, thanks for the update today. Always good talking with you.
Yes, sir. We will do it again soon.
All right, for Wes, I'm Emerson Phillips. You can reach me on Twitter at Emerson Phillips, and we'll have more Gamecock football recruiting and information coming your way here on Gamecock Central Radio. Thanks for being with us.